Hello and welcome to another episode of the Ice Talks, where we implement change every day. Hey, how you doing? Harold S. Reed Jr. here, also known as HRJR, your motivational coach. If you don't know what motivation means, motive plus action equals results, and results equals success. Welcome to another episode of the Ice Talks. Today I'm going to talk to you about what I choose to call the secret of life and the path to getting there. But I'm going to flip it. First, I'm going to talk about the path to getting to the secret of life. This path we find ourselves on every single day. The minute you step foot out of bed and take your first steps, be it to the bathroom, be it to the kitchen, be it to the closet to decide what clothes you're going to wear, you are on that path. The minute you step foot out of the door to go to your car, to go to work, or to walk to the bus or the train, or to get your Uber, you are on that path. What you do throughout the day, the decisions you make, and the actions you take based on those decisions, even if you act without thinking, you are on that path. Now, where does that path lead to? As I said, that path leads you to the secret of life. As a matter of fact, it doesn't actually lead you to the secret. I would go so far as to say the path itself is the secret of life. And this path consists of two major components. I call these components peaks and valleys. Peaks are the high points in our life. The valleys are the low points in our life. Like any peak, you will find that there's not a lot of room up there at the peak, at the top of a mountain. There's not a lot of room, all right? Not compared to all that's there down in the valley. Few people live on the top of mountains. A lot of people live down in the valleys. Something Les Brown always says is that I'd rather be at the top. It's lonely at the top, but the reason why it's so lonely at the top is because it's so crowded at the bottom. See, there are a lot of people who are successful, but as I always say, successful people will always be in the minority because successful people are the few who are willing to do more. Now, down in that valley, you have people who are just there. Whether that's where they ended up, or that's where they chose to go, or that's where they chose to stay. There's always going to be more people in the valley than there are at the peak. Now, what I choose to say, how I live my life, and what I tell my clients and what I tell my audiences is that when we're at the peak of our lives, or shall I say, when we're at the peaks in our lives, because this path, it goes up and down. Unless you quit and give up and just go through life doing the same old thing all day, day in, day out, unless we live like that, our life consists of ups and downs, twists and turns, peaks and valleys. When we find ourselves at the peak, everything is working out great. We're celebrating. Everything came out. We won. We've won. Everything is working the way it's supposed to. People acting like they have sense. Ain't nobody talking about you behind your back. Your children getting good grades in school. Your boss is not being a pain in the butt. Your money's coming in. Everything is wonderful at the peak. The girl said yes. The guy said yes. You know, you got that date. That date went well and you're going to see that person. Everything is popping off at the peaks. But unfortunately, the way life works, we don't spend very much time at the peak. Even people who appear to be at the peak, you never know. They might be inside individually going through some valleys. Now let's talk about the valley. What happens down in the valley? Down in the valley, that's where our character is built. See, we celebrate at the peaks, but we build our character down in the valley. All right, the valley is rough. The valley is rugged. And the funny thing is, getting up to the peak, climbing out of the valley, climbing up to the peak, that too is rough, right? Which is why when we get to the peak, when we get to the top, when we get to that point where everything worked out and we achieved our goal, we do a happy dance. We dance a jig. We celebrate. We have a couple drinks, pop some bottles, play the music loud, laugh, dance, and rejoice. That's what we do at the peak. But down in the valley is where we have to figure out how we wound up down in the valley. Where when we're in the valley, we have to figure out how we're going to get the hell out of the valley. We have to plot our course to get back up on the peak. Go through that road again. Hopefully find a way to go up that road easier than we went up the road before. That's what life is like down in the valley. For those who want to get out of the valley. For those who just want to not put in the work, they'll stay there. And I guess they'll be content, complacent, mediocre. And there are a lot of people that choose to live that way. God bless them. As one of my old friends always says, if you like it, I love it. I'm not one to judge. Me personally, I'm always striving to get to that peak. I find myself in the valley a lot, but I choose to use that time in the valley, like I said, to build my character, to study, to become a better person so that I deserve and earn my place at the peak. Now, what do I mean by the secret of life? And how does that secret encompass the road as well as become the destination as well? Well, here is the secret. Are you sitting down? Good. Here's the secret. The secret of life, according to Harold S. Reed Jr., is this. Life is simple. That's it. Life is simple. Now, I say that, and more often than not, people look at me like I'm crazy. I remember the first time I said it, it was to a class of 8th graders, and even they looked at me like I was silly. Why? Because a lot of these kids, even at the tender age of 10, 11, 8th graders, so they're like 13, almost 14. Even at that age, where these kids were, where these kids lived, life didn't appear simple. They see their parents working hard. They see their parents struggling to make ends meet and keep them in private school, because it was a private school. All right? But yet and still, I still say to them, and I ingrained in their heads, that life is simple. Well, if life is so simple, how come so many people are suffering? Well, I can't give you a end-all cure for every person's individual situation, but what I can tell you is this. When people hear that life is simple, the first thing they do is disbelieve that simple statement. And because I believe the law of attraction is real, and the law of attraction states you get in your life that which you focus your energies towards, if you choose to believe that life is complicated, then God, the universe, whatever you deem your higher power to be, will grant your wish and give you a complicated life. However, if you choose to take on the belief that life is simple, and you live that, you take it in and you accept it and you believe it to be true, in the face of everything that tells you it is not, you hold fast that life is simple. The universe will start to turn your way. Whatever you deem your higher power to be will start to turn your way. And even the problems themselves won't seem so difficult, because you will see those problems as obstacles to be overcome, not walls to keep you locked in and held back. Life is simple. When you wake up in the morning, I always tell people, how you doing? They say, hey, I'm doing great. I woke up. The hard part is over. See, waking up, I have no control over that. I mean, I have control over when I open my eyes, but when we're asleep and we're unconscious, hey, once again, it's that higher power at work. You have no control if your heart stops beating while you're sleeping. That's why people die in their sleep. Body slows down till it stops, right? So again, life is simple. And the reason why so many people suffer and go through life living complicated lives is because they may be choosing to believe either they don't know that life is simple, because, I'm trying to spread this message as wide as I can, but not everybody knows this secret. That's why it's a secret. I'm trying to share it though. All right. And because they don't either know or they don't believe that life is simple, they get what they focus on. And if they focus on, oh man, I'm broke. If they focus on, where's the next check coming from? I ain't got no money. If they focus on, oh, here come another day at the job. If that's what they focus on, oh God, will this woman ever shut her mouth? Will this man ever get off his ass? All kinds of things like that. If that's what you focus on every day, then that is what you will get every day. But if you make a simple shift in your frequency, if you make a simple shift in your belief system and take on the belief that life is simple, trust me, in a matter of time, I'm not going to say in 5 minutes, I'm not going to say in 5 days, I'm not even going to say 5 years, but in a matter of time, based on however you choose to live and the circumstances that you have to go through, keep believing that life is simple. And problems won't feel so heavy because you believe that life is simple. Even when you face those problems, you'll be like, there's a solution at the end of this. I just have to find it. So now you're focusing on the solution as opposed to focusing on the problem, which is why my first book was entitled, Find a Way to Make a Way. You're either part of the problem or you're part of the solution. All right. Focus on the solution. You spend more time focusing on the solution, then you'll have solutions working their way to you as opposed to just focusing on the problem. I wrote about this in that book I just mentioned, where my line of thinking was always, I always tell my wife wanted to get a house. Quick story. When we first got married, engaged actually, we lived in an apartment, nice little 1-bedroom apartment with a full basement. So I had a man cave, goal achieved, right? Then we had our firstborn. Shortly after our first son was born, we moved into a 2-bedroom apartment, full basement. So I still had a man cave. And I had a few friends that, were looking, they were getting established in their lives as well. So I was able to put a word in for them and got them apartments in my complex. But they also stayed there for a year, 2, 3, what have you, and they moved out and got their own houses. And there were a variety of factors as to, their circumstances and what afforded them the ability to get a house. But whenever my wife came, we said, why can't we get a house? Why are we still here? And my line of thinking was, I can't afford it. We good. We don't need to get a house right now. We good. I can't afford a house. And as long as I kept saying, I can't afford a house, I can't afford a house, I can't afford a house, guess what? I couldn't afford a house. But I changed my line of thinking. I read a book. That book was Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. There's a whole lot of lessons I learned in that book. But one of the lessons that I learned was to change my thinking. One of the lessons I learned was to stop saying what I can't do and start asking, how could I? See, when you make a statement, bam, there it is. When you ask a question, you open the door. Let me say that again, even better. Let me rephrase it, even better. When you make a statement, you close the door. Whether, you say you can or you can't, you close that door. That's just two sides of one door. I can, bam, close the door on what you can't do. All right? I can't. Bam, you've closed the door on what you can do. Now, if you're uncertain about what you can or can't do, the best thing to do is to ask questions. Because when you ask questions, you leave the door open for possibilities to come your way. You leave the door open for goodness to come your way. You leave the door open for obstacles and challenges as well. But you can learn from those obstacles and challenges and overcome them and get to where you want to go. All right. So when I changed my line of thinking from I can't afford a house to how can I afford a house, solutions started to come my way. Well, I can juggle these funds over here. I can pay this off sooner. I can pay this off later. I could get some money from over here. Oh, I could borrow money from these people. Oh, okay, I could get some money from over here. Oh, I could put this egg in this basket and these eggs in this basket. Within a year, we moved out of our 2-bedroom with a full basement into a 4-bedroom, 2-bedroom with a full basement apartment into a 4-bedroom house, front yard, back deck, driveway, the whole nine, right? So you can make changes in your life. It's just a matter of shifting your frequency to the direction or the frequency that you want to move towards, as opposed to move away from or not move at all. All right. So again, life is simple. That's the secret. The path to understanding and getting to this secret is understanding that life is full of peaks and valleys, ups and downs. All right. We celebrate at the top. We bust our tails at the bottom. All right. And as long as we keep moving, you got to live like a shark. You got to keep moving. You got to keep moving. You got to keep moving. You know, a lot of you guys know I do a little Uber hustling on the side, and I have people in the car and they say, so do you just sit around and wait for a ride to come? I say, absolutely not. I'm like a shark. I got to keep moving. As long as I keep moving, there's going to be somebody out there hitting the signal. If you just sit and wait, this might be good information for another podcast. So consider this like a prequel to an upcoming podcast. If I was to just sit and wait for a signal to come, I could spend 2-3 hours just sitting there listening to satellite radio, waiting for a signal to come for me to go get a ride. And there's no guarantee whether that ride will be long or far, which means there's no guarantee that ride will make me money or, you know, make me a good amount of money or make me just some change. Okay? But as long as I stay moving around, I increase the chances because somebody somewhere is going to hit that signal and I'm going to be needed to take them where they need to go. Right? So you have to be open. You have to be open to accept the fact that challenges and obstacles are going to come your way, and it's your job to solve and overcome those challenges and obstacles. Believing that life is simple is going to take you to living not necessarily a simple life, but a more happy, more fulfilling life, because you're focusing more on the solutions than you are on the problem. So once again, remember, peaks and valleys. We celebrate at the top. We build our character at the bottom. And we work our butts off in between. We work as hard as we can to stay at the top. But again, it's not a lot of space up there. Sometimes we might have to dip back down into the valley and learn some more so we can get back, you know what? And maybe even climb a higher peak than the previous peak. This, my friends, is the secret of life. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Ice Talks, where we implement change every day.